when the film finished, everyone was just sat there and all you could hear was just... everyone was just like sniffing and that, trying not to cry, trying to hold back the tears. Hi guys, how's it going? David O'Sullivan here, giving you my review of A Monster Calls. Now, A Monster Calls is directed by JA Bayona and stars Lewis MacDougall, Felicity Jones, Sigourney Weaver and Toby Kebbell, and it's essentially about a young boy who's, going through very kind of tough problems in his life. His mother's terminally ill with cancer. He's got some family issues and he's really struggling. It's all about how that is represented visually on screen through this monster, this fantastical, otherworldly, tree-like creature that is what's going on in his head essentially, but we're seeing it visually on screen, and that whole story is told to us through that very unique visual storytelling device, which we don't really see that often. And going into this film, I was really excited. I did actually want to check it out back when it was at the London Film Festival, but I wasn't able to. I just didn't have the time. But then it has just come out now in the Bath Film Festival, and I live here in Bath, so I was like, I am going to see it. And I managed to get a ticket, and wow, this film was so good. I mean, I thought it was going to be good. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. I didn't think it was going to be like one of the best films of the year good. But for me, this is probably one of the best films I've seen so far this year. It was so good. As soon as it finished, I just sat back and was like, wow. And it was another one of those very kind of powerful, emotional films, similar to I, Daniel Blake, actually. And when the film finished, everyone was just sat there and all you could hear was just... everyone was just like sniffing and that, trying not to cry, trying to hold back the tears, and I was as well. It was actually a surprisingly very powerful, emotional film. I mean, I thought it was going to be, but I didn't know for sure whether it would affect me as much as I thought it was going to, but it did. For me, the best thing about this film was not necessarily the story itself, but how the story was told and put across visually on screen, because we've seen this kind of thing a lot of times before in terms of a kid who's, got a relative who's terminally ill with cancer, and we're seeing how this kid's struggling to get through this. But even though that's a similar kind of thing that we've seen before, I usually don't like when we see this kind of story depicted on screen, whether it's in a TV show or a film. Sometimes it can come off as just not genuine. It can come off very kind of fake and just scripted and put on. But the beauty of this film was that I think this film, more than any other film or TV show I've seen, depicted this story more realistically than I've ever seen it done before, and in more of a unique and interesting way visually than I've ever seen as well. For me, the way in which the story was represented visually on screen was absolutely incredible. I just loved it so much. How this story was told from a visual perspective, it was just so great. I loved what JA Bayona did with this film. I'm not overly familiar with him as a filmmaker. I have seen his film The Impossible, which is a similar kind of thing. His films often deal with like families and family dramas, and that's very much at the forefront here. There's some supernatural, fantastical elements kind of, but it's not really, a supernatural fantasy film. It's just these things that are going on in this little boy's life. What's going on in his head is represented just visually for us on screen, and I just love that, how unique it was in that respect. Because like I said, this kind of premise we've seen many times before, but how it was done this film, how J.A. Bayona executed it visually on screen. I'm not overly familiar with the book that it's based on, but I can't imagine the author of this novel not being happy with this film, because it was so incredibly well done. Like I said, the visuals, how it was represented visually on screen, with just everything about this. Like, there was not one frame of this film I didn't like the look of. It was just stunning, and just what I thought coming out of the cinema, the main thing that was swirling around in my head was, this essentially was a work of art. I don't care what you say, like, oh, films aren't art. Film is an art form, and this film for me was just like a work of art on the big screen in film form, and I loved that. It was so creative, so artistic, so unique and original from a visual perspective. For me, this is one of the best, not just one of the best films of the year, but in terms of the visuals, it was one of the best visual experiences I've seen so far this year in the cinema. It was stunning. I just Love the look of this film. I loved how kind of cool and quirky and stylistic and artistic it was. Going back onto JA Bayona briefly, I cannot wait to see what he does with Jurassic World 2. I'm not that excited for a Jurassic World sequel, but the fact that JA Bayona is going to be doing it, that has piqued my interest, and I can't wait to see what he does there. But yeah, it's kind of got almost a Del Toro kind of style to it as well, with these fantastical, magical elements with the creature and that. And there's even some animated sequences in this film as well that is very reminiscent of other kind of films. Even like the Deathly Hallows sequence and that story that's told in the Deathly Hallows Part 1 Harry Potter film, it's kind of reminiscent of that, these animated sequences that we got. And I love the animated sequences as well. They were just stunning as well. It was almost like two amazing films in one. We had the amazing, beautiful live action film and then the amazing, beautiful animated sequences. And you think it would get a little repetitive because the film basically follows this little boy and he gets these visits from this magical, fantastical creature telling him these three different stories, and it goes back and forth between these two different things. You think that would get repetitive or tiring, but it doesn't. It's executed so well and it's all meshed together so well and it all works so brilliantly. How we go back and forth between the boy and what he's struggling with in his real life, and then these sequences that are going on in his head essentially with this creature telling him these stories. I just absolutely loved it. It really, one of the best things about this film, I think, that it was so incredibly immersive and engaging. I got so sucked into the film. There's many times where I sat back and I just kept forgetting I was in a cinema watching a film because I was just so immersed into the world of the film. I was just pulled into it so much and I was just so engaged in the film with the characters and the story. I've got to talk about the performances as well. The performances all around were incredible. The basic premise is something we have seen before, but what made this film so powerful and so emotional were the performances by the actors. If the performances and the actors weren't that great, it probably wouldn't have been as powerful and as emotional and as effective as it was. But the actors were all incredible. Felicity Jones, I'm a big fan of Felicity Jones. I love the choices she's making, the projects that she's choosing, but this might be the best performance I've ever seen from her. And I loved her in The Theory of Everything. I thought she was great in that, but this might be the best I've ever seen her. She was so incredibly good in this role as this fragile mother who's terminally ill with cancer, and the relationship she has with her son. It was just so well done. Sigourney Weaver's also in this film. I didn't realise at first, but she plays the grandmother. She's great as well. And, Sigourney Weaver can actually do a really good British accent. Toby Kebbell's in here as well, another great actor. And it's so great to see Toby Kebbell in a great film because I think he is a really good actor, but so many times he's in just bad films. So it was so great to see him in a actually really good film for once. And I've got to give massive props to the little boy here, Lewis MacDougall, I believe his name is. I swear this year is just the year of great performances from child actors, but he might be the best one yet because this film really relied heavily upon him. This film he was really carrying upon his shoulders because he's the main protagonist and he had so much more screen time than I thought he was going to. He really is the lead character and he has way more screen time than any other character, so he really carries this film. And it works because he's such a great actor, even though he's just this little kid. And it's quite a big, emotional, heartfelt story that he has to carry in this film, but he does such an incredible job. And because of these incredible performances, we can really buy into it, and they really sell it to us because all the actors are just so great. And again, I've got to touch back on the emotion side of things. I really wasn't expecting this film to be as powerful and as emotional as it was. I didn't think I would get as emotional as I did, but it really provoked a really strong emotional response from me because, like I said, this concept, this premise, we've seen many times before, but it was just so well executed in this film, so well portrayed and put across by the actors, and so well filmed by JA Bayona. It was really something quite remarkable and quite special. Like, this wasn't just a good film, it was like especially good. I really feel like this film is a film that should get a lot of recognition for how it portrayed this story and put across the story and how it presented it and captured it in a visual perspective in such an incredibly unique and different way. And as someone who's gone through something quite similar myself, I can safely say that this is the best representation of this kind of story and struggles that I've ever seen on film. Like, it was so incredibly good. I just loved it. In short, A Monster Calls, for me, is one of the best films of the year so far. It's not one of the most groundbreaking revelation of a film ever, but in terms of how the story was put across visually on screen, I thought was just brilliant. From a visual perspective, I absolutely loved this film. It was so cool and different. It was so kind of creative and artistic and stylistic. I love the direction by JA Bayona. I can't wait to see what he's going to be doing next. I'm really going to be following him closely now, especially going forward with him doing the Jurassic World sequel. Can't wait to see what he does there. I just really recommend going to see this film as soon as it comes out. I'm not quite sure when it is released in cinemas, but this is a film that I think everyone should see. It's probably not suitable for young kids. I think kids should probably see this, but maybe from like 11, 12 upwards. I think it is a really important film to see in terms of how these issues and these struggles and these problems in terms of the family and the drama in terms of the relationships between these characters and what these characters are going through. I think it was so incredibly well done, and I think it deserves to be seen and deserves to be talked about. I absolutely love this film. So there we go, A Monster Calls. It has to get 5 stars. And there we go, that wraps up my review of A Monster Calls. A little bit of a kind of scrambling all over the place review. I just really wanted to get my thoughts out on this film because I loved it so much. I thought it was a really great film, and I think it deserves to be seen and talked about. I hope it's as loved by everyone else because I really like this film. I really connected with it and I thought it was a really good film. Have you seen the film yet? If so, what do you think about it? Let me know down below. I'd love to know. And also, if you haven't seen it yet, what are you expecting from this film? Are you looking forward to it or not? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you like this, then make sure to click subscribe to see more. But for now, I've been David O'Sullivan. I'll see you next time.